Well, good afternoon, early evening. How are you all? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. It's been a hot day, so it's not coffee right now. It's sweet tea, iced sweet tea. Can't get better than that, right? Can you hear that? Oh, what a sound. I spent all day out, and I'm going to talk today. I'm going to talk in this one about where to bug out to, because I've made a few here recently. And I keep getting comments. But where? But where should we bug out to? But Steve, I can't. I'm this, I'm that. I tell you what, I have got such negative comments. Not negative towards me necessarily, just negative. People are so negative about, I can't do this, I can't do that. But you don't understand. I swear it makes me want to stop putting stuff up on YouTube. It really does. It really does. I had somebody put a comment on, I just don't buy into the cult-like belief that positive thinking will bring you, what did he say? Material prosperity. Whoever said that? Whoever said that? That's the kind of stuff that I'm getting on here. My Lord. And then the ones, I mean, every time they come on, there is something, and sometimes it's kind of hidden in there. It's kind of hidden in a otherwise positive comment, you know. But I can't. I can't. It really is. It makes me want to slam my head against a brick wall, dealing with that kind of self-limiting ignorance. And it does. It makes me want to stop putting stuff up on YouTube and just concentrate on Patreon. We never have that stuff on Patreon. Never. We will see. We will see. And so after I spend my time answering those, and sometimes just deleting, and sometimes, if they want to argue, banning them, because when I try to give them a positive answer, yeah, but, you know what? If you're here just to be entertained, leave. If you're here just to argue, leave. If you're here to learn, welcome. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Again, I'm Steve Smith, your teacher. Oh my, that's good. I had a great question that I'm going to answer. It was from Kevin Ayers. I suspect, and I don't remember whether it was on the YouTube side or the Patreon side. I suspect it might have been Patreon, because if it wasn't, Kevin, if it was from YouTube, you belong on Patreon, because it was a Patreon level question, all right? And it was a comment, actually. It was helping me to understand something, and I think it was great. Great. Before I get to that, I want to, and he's telling me why a lot of people feel this way. I want to throw in something here. I spent the day building a bunch of new mounds for cukes and zooks. I was out at the local nursery a couple of days ago, and they were clearing out. This is a good lesson for preparedness. They were clearing out a bunch of their starts, you know, and they were selling 4-packs of tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, some other things. 4-packs for 50 cents. 50 cents. So I bought a mess of them, and I don't know how many I bought, probably 100. So I spent today building new mounds for those and planting. I think I got about 30 planted. I'll keep at it tomorrow. So watch out for those deals. Watch out for those. And many of you are saying, that's great, wish I could come across that. The negative ones, the contrarians, go, yeah, but what are you going to do with all those cukes and zooks? You can't eat all of those. Well, I'm going to try. No. I love cucumber and onions. in a vinegar. Oh man, we have that all summer long. So we will eat a lot, and we'll eat a lot of squash, and we'll eat a lot of cukes and a lot of zooks, and the rest of them, we'll give some away. You know how to make friends? You know how to make a new friend, or how to make a current friend a better friend? Give them a bunch of the produce out of your garden. You see, that is a very basic preparedness tactic and technique, right? So grow, and give them away, and solidify your relationships, and then pickle a bunch, and then hey, let the kids sell them at a roadside stand. Make some money. You see, a lot of the stuff that I grow is the kind of stuff that just costs money at the store and doesn't taste that good, and cukes and zooks and tomatoes and all of those things. So anyway, let's get back to this. Kevin said, he says, I think the reason, because I think I was kind of complaining about this on the previous one, all these negative people. He says, I think the problem is that they're operating from a different paradigm. Kevin, in case I didn't say this, thank you for your brilliant observation. Like I say, if you're not with us on Patreon, you need to be. As a matter of fact, all you smart people need to be with us on Patreon. Not just in case I decide to stop this altogether if I get so many ignorant comments, but because the comments over there are so much better. I mean, they are, not that I don't get good comments on YouTube, I do. But you all need to be over on the other one, because it's a more positive and constructive and cooperative environment, community, I would say. Okay, so that's my commercial. Link down below. Come on. I'd love to have you there. And then you also are not pestered, because some of you have been getting pestered by these negative people too. And I find that when these negative people get down there and they stop making their comments and they go down and they try to weasel under somebody else's comment, I see them. I see you. Okay, Kevin says he thinks it's a different paradigm because so many of the prepper channels, and I'll be honest, I don't watch prepper channels. I could get into that too, but I won't. He says they all concentrate on this idea of a bug out bag. Bug out bag. He says it's like a 3-day emergency bag that they tell people they can run off into the woods and survive. And so people think about these. He says some people even have them putting together bags for their kids and their dogs and stuff. Now I do something similar, but we don't call it bug out, and it's not for that. It's much different. When I do my series on bags, you'll probably see the difference. So he says people have been given this idea that they're going to grab their bag and like run out into the woods or something. So he says, I think that's what you're dealing with here, or that the people have already been kind of brainwashed into thinking that's what bugging out is. And he made a brilliant statement. I won't get it exactly right, he says, but he thinks many of these people are tripping over their bug out bag. I thought that was a wonderful way to put it, and he's probably right. So let's talk about bugging out, what it is, and where you might want to go. Okay, one more sip. Weenie weeding. First off, I never refer to it as bugging out, except I did it in those videos because that's the phrase that everybody knows, right? I call it about simply moving to an alternate location or our secondary location, leaving. Master Samurai asked, he says, you might want to do one about when to know, when is it time to bug out? I can't really answer that. It's going to be different in different situations, and there's no way that you can answer a hypothetical with so many variables. It's simply when you think that remaining where you are is going to be more dangerous than moving to your next location. Okay, simple as that. And here we have to use discernment, right? Engage brain, like another stupid comment from the other one. Well, yeah, when you get to that next place, it's just going to be just as bad. See, those kinds of statements don't belong on this channel, because this is a channel for thinking people. I say I've got the smartest people. I've got the smartest commenters in all of YouTube land, but some of these people are bringing that average down. I'm not going to let it. So let's don't trip over the bug out bag anymore, right? Thank you, Kevin, for that thought. Moving to an alternate location. If you have to move to an alternate location, you should make sure that you are taking with you everything possible, everything that you can, to make that secondary location as close, as livable as possible. Okay, we're not talking about living out in the woods. Okay, this is, you've heard me say this before. I have no desire to scrape by. Just surviving is no fun. Now, it beats the heck out of not surviving, right? But just surviving and living in the woods and being afraid and scampering around trying to root for some root vegetables in the ground and eating berries and hoping you can catch a squirrel to live till tomorrow, that's no fun. That's no way to do it. So, I mean, if that's what you want, I guess there's other channels that will talk all about that. That's not what I write about in my books. Now, for those of you who just came across this and say, who is this yahoo thinking he knows it all? Well, I'm the guy that wrote all these books about it. I wrote about Stonemount. This is the Stonemount series. It's available in paperback and Kindle from Amazon or from me through our website, stonemount.us, and it's the complete plan on how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse of the world. That's what it is, and that's who I am. And in that, I describe as those of you who have read it, a prepared family who built themselves not necessarily a retreat, just in case. And you'll notice that a lot of times, just like I call my bags a jick bag, a just in case, you should do a lot of things just in case. You should position yourself just in case. Okay. So you want your next place to go, your BOL, your bug out location, to be as comfortable as possible. You also want it to be as defensible as possible. And there's no reason that those two have to be mutually exclusive. Okay? I want to blend comfortably. I also want to be safe. Okay? I want to be able to defend myself, so do you. So when you think about, where do you go? Let's just tick down some items. Best place to be is to already live out there. Now, I'm not, as you've heard me say, I'm not a proponent of living way out in the sticks, because you deny yourself the resources of the built-up areas, medical care, shopping, better prices, all sorts of things. And there are those who don't want that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting you all down. So don't put down the people who do want to prefer suburbs, But the best place, I always say, is about 5-10 miles outside of town. You've got your land. Hopefully your land is mixed use. It's a combination of woods and open areas for growing, open areas for a number of things. It has a topography that is easily, it lends itself to being defensible. All these things come into play. It has a water source, preferably live water. If you have to dig a well, that's not nearly as good as having a big old creek flowing past. The best is to have a well and a creek and a pond. You want as much water as you can possibly have. So keep those things in mind when you're thinking about a bug out location. If you don't live there, the next best thing to do is to live in the suburbs and have land out there that you can develop. Okay, keep in mind those things that I have talked about. A good topography and water. Okay. If you have a bunch of rocks out there, I think that's great. They built the home in the first book, the Reversion. It's called Stonemount because of all the stones that were there, and they built the first floor of the home with stones. You should have enough area and good enough soil to plant, okay, to grow a lot of food. Now, next after that, or maybe I should go off on this. Maybe I'll come back to it. It might be an entire video on its own, and that is how to start developing raw land. Okay, if you've bought land out there, how do you start developing it? I'll either, if I have time, I'll include that on the end of this, or I'll do a separate one on that. That's good. So if you live in the suburbs, have some land out there, stick a little cabin on it. Steve, who has the money to put a cabin on it? Says the contrarian and the negativity. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Okay, fine. Go pitch a tent on it. I don't care. Do what you can, for crying out loud. I can't think of everything for you. Okay. But you know, even one of those little Amish-built sheds type of thing, stick it on there, so that when you go out there, you're not just living in the field. And then I would suggest you keep developing it. Okay. Now, after that, do you have relatives that live in a place that would be safer than where you are? Of course you do. Most people do. I know I keep sticking in the contrarian. I don't have any family. You know. My family hates me. My kids won't have anything to do with me. My parents won't have anything to do with me. Well, why not? You know, if it's your fault, fix it, and if it's their fault, good riddance. I don't want to hear about it. So family. Okay, we've got a lot of family around here. Nobody hates anybody, you know, that I know of. And that's another thing that I will talk about. All of our family, and that's kind of another thing that's probably a video of its own. My family's all across my country's 1,200 miles away. I think that's too bad, in the way that families have separated. I mean, and that does put you in a position that's not as tenable as if your family was around. Kelly and my family are both within miles. I mean, all of our brothers and sisters, parents, everything. We could walk there. I mean, not in 10 minutes, but, you know, we could walk. That's a good thing about having family close by. But, you know, in the modern age, families split up, people move away, and whatever. So do you have family? That's the place. You start thinking about it. You know, ask them. Just ask them. Hey, Uncle Bob, I've been looking into this. You know, I think that maybe there could be some real problems. And I watched this crazy guy on YouTube, and he says that there could be an EMP and there could be a CME, and they could shut down the grid and all this. And I was just thinking, what would I do? Could I come here? You know, and see what Uncle Bob says. You know, you'll find out if Uncle Bob likes you or not. And if he says, well, of course, you bet, come on in. Okay? Start pre-positioning some supplies out there. Don't go out there thinking you know Uncle Bob's going to feed you and save you. Say, could I start bringing some stored food out here? And so that, you know, if we have to, it will, you know, you won't have to. Sure. I mean, if he doesn't say sure, what kind of an uncle is he? Right? You don't have family? How about friends? You got friends? You know, think about that. I don't have any friends, Steve. Well, that's a problem. And I think we know what the problem is. I have known some people that didn't have any friends, and you know what? It wasn't the friend's fault. Think about that. Be sociable, be nice. You know, if you're sociable and nice, and also there's something else. But if you're sociable and nice, you'll have friends. And yes, but who can you trust? Oh my gracious. Have some discernment. I know this is going off onto some tangents, but it's so necessary. You can tell how tired I am of this stuff. But here's also the thing, I'll tell you, the people that don't have friends, or the people who don't like to socialize, most of them have something in common. They're all about themselves. You know, people with a lot of friends and associates and contacts, they think about other people. They really do. They're outgoing, they're friendly, they're nice, they do things for other people. But I did something for somebody once and they didn't do anything back for me. Life can be tough. Grow up. Be an adult. Now, if you don't have any friends like that, now where do you go? Let's see where we're getting on this. Now, what am I timing? Okay. where do you go? Herein, and there was somebody that left a great comment. Now this can be dangerous. You don't want to go onto somebody else's property or somebody else's land, okay? First off, it's wrong. Secondly, it's illegal. You could get shot or have the sheriff called on you, if the sheriff's department is still working. But I tell you what, rather than me talk about it, go check through the comments. I think it was on Patreon, but I'm not sure. There were some good comments about how to find places out there. There's plenty of places, abandoned places out there you can hole up. And now somebody say, but the marauders will come get you. See, thinking people know that you have to be able to defend yourself. But how am I going to defend myself? I don't know. Okay, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. There's plenty of abandoned places out there. And now we get into what I think is a very, I tell you, there's a lot more that could go into this, and I don't know if I will or not. Making friends with people in a county sheriff's department. No, I'm not going to go there. Now we get into how about state parks, national forests, and things like that. I just took one of our main guys out. The main guy actually just took Mark out to our first jump point. Just because I like to check on it every now. We went to our first jump point and our second jump point. Now these are not where we would. That's not our end goal. It's not our end destination. But they are destinations that you can live. For, like I said, for a few days, and then everything, it wasn't as bad. Things have come back together. Let's go back home and unload. Okay. But if for whatever reason it didn't seem like it was time yet to move on to our next locations, any of these you'd be able to stay at indefinitely. Okay. But state parks and national parks, many of them, and here I think I said it in the one yesterday, if you pay taxes, those are your places. Because somebody had asked me, what's the moral and the ethical, position of going to a national park or a state park? Well, it belongs to you. You pay taxes, it belongs to you. Go out there. Many of those places have, and try to go to a place with a structure, a permanent structure on it. Many of them will even have water coming to them. Now, whether that water still works after the grid going down, maybe not, but most national parks and state parks have places that water is available. I don't care, it could be a river, a stream, a pond, a lake, whatever. You can make it work. But try to find places with permanent structures on it, because you don't want to be living in a tent. If everything collapses and it looks like it's going to be long term, you can start again. I mean, think of the pioneers. They went out with an axe, right? They didn't have a ready-made cabin or tent set up. You go out there and there's a bunch of cabins. Take what you need. But other people are going to be there, Steve. Not if you get there first, and that's why I said get out in time. The whole world is not thinking the same way. This is what people need to understand, and this is the importance of being preparedness minded. You should be 10 steps ahead of everybody else. For some reason, people have this idea that everybody is going to go to the woods. No, they're not. It's kind of like that false truism that everybody thinks that the deer population was wiped out during the Depression. It wasn't. It had already been wiped out. It had already been wiped out for a whole number of things. Read about it. Study it yourself. Don't believe things just because you've heard them. Think them through. Like this bug out bag situation. Think. Guys, somebody said, but they're right. This is your most important tool, your brain. So yeah, get out there, set yourself up. Other people, so somebody else is there. Good. Hey, hi. I'm Steve. This is my family. Who are you all? Oh, well, we're so-and-so. Ah, good. Who you from? Where are you from? Ah, we're from. Okay. Well, this is a heck of a deal, isn't it? Yes, it is. Well, it's good to have you here. I'm glad you're here, too. That gives more people to kind of help and defend. We'll see what's going on. You know what? You can make friends and... No, Steve. Everybody's going to be killing each other all the time. So, if you're the first one there and then more people come, are you going to be an asshat and say, you can't come here? No, you can't do that. Here's where your people skills come in. Here's where your skills of getting along with other people, not putting you or your family in danger, but your people skills. Okay? I'm not going to let people not come into, if we've gotten to a place with 10 cabins and I'm only using 5, I'm not going to tell anybody they can't use those cabins. They could be very important. The most important prep you're going to have, other than God and your family, is other people. Okay? I'm not going to tell them they can't stay there. Am I going to share all of our food with them? No, probably not. But, that gets into all sorts of other things. But you can start. And just imagine that everything does fall apart. Okay, good. You've got it 100 times better than the pioneers, right? And you can build again. In the reversion, it started out as one house of one family. I explain exactly how to do it. As more and more people came to them needing help, they were able to help them because they were prepared. Guess what they did? They went out and they got a bunch of tents from the Walmarts because the whole world had crashed down. They got all sorts of supplies. They got clothes for the people. And then they started building cabins. And they built a community. As a result of them building a community, a major portion of which was a defensive arm, they were able to continue to help more people and build and survive themselves. But then what if we get overrun in the cabins? Do you really want me to go on with this and on and on? Go someplace else. You should always have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Just get out of the built-up areas. Now's the time to do it. Google Earth is your friend. Get on Google Earth and start looking at the areas around where you live. Look at the lakes, look at the parks, look at the streams, look at the creeks, look at the rivers. Look at those places that aren't on somebody else's property, but that you could set up a pretty good rudimentary survival enclave. And then get used to it. Drive out there, drive around it, go out there and visit. Spend an afternoon in that park. Spend a weekend in the park. Go out and camp in that park. Get to know it. And then, if that park is 20 miles away, go find one 40 miles away, 50 miles away. How about this one, in case I have to leave the first one? This is how you've heard how I do it. It rings. Every 10 miles or so, there should be a place that this is the next place if I have to leave this place. So where to go when how are we doing on time? I don't even know if I have time for my exit line. Maybe. Where do you go? Think about those things. Your own place, Uncle Bob's, a friend's, a park, an abandoned place, all those things. But it's up to you. Figure it out. And then go reconnoiter. Recon. Okay? Reconnoiter.
Find out how to get there. Find out 3 ways to get there. Find out 5 ways to get there, both by vehicle or bicycle or walking. And realize that bugging out, although regardless of all those people who have been tripping over their bug out bags, doesn't mean necessarily just taking the very basics and going out and trying to live in the woods for the rest of your life. It means going to a location that is safer than where you are now, and having the ability to take everything that you need with you as much as possible. Okay, Kevin, thanks for that that education. I think you're exactly right. And I don't watch these other channels, so I don't know what they're talking about, but you know, people need to think about this stuff differently. You need to move. Every time somebody moves is to improve their location and their situation. Just in our world now, people move to improve their position. Same thing with, if you want to call it bugging out, same place with going to an alternate location. Okay? All right. I hope that helped. I hope some of you complainers and whiners learned a little bit. Or maybe you'll just leave, which is fine. Because there's not... I'd love to help you, but I'm not going to, support you in your own determination to fail. So keep that in mind. Questions, fine. Come over. Remember, these are available through Amazon. Links down below, or through our website, stonemont.us. If you want them autographed, there's a place to put in there. Steve, would you write this in my book? I'd be happy to. Join us on the Patreon channel, and I'll be back to talk to you tomorrow probably. See you later. Bye-bye.